What's up, guys? My name is Bainz. We're here at Crosby Studios with Cloud Microphones, and today we're going to talk a little bit about my journey as an engineer, as a mixer, and kind of how I use Cloud Microphones products in recording, mixing, and just making records. I've been with Young Thug for about 7-8 years, so anything he's done in that time, be it albums, features, shows, live performances, we did some stuff with NPR, we've done shows with Meta, all of those things I've either recorded, mixed it, in most cases done both. Some other stuff I've worked on, Offset's whole album I mixed with my buddy Tizio, Big X The Plug's new album, Millie Go Lightly, really cool artists from the UK, everyone from Future to Travis to Drake, did some records with Calvin Harris, Diplo, 21 Savage, Metro Boomin's album. In working with him, I've gotten to know all of these people as well and developed my own personal relationship with them, which is really cool. I really enjoy working with such talented people and people that are at the top of the game right now and top of the industry right now. What I really like about the Cloudlifter is it really brings the mic into the preamp and makes it one with the preamp. I've heard people say that, if you have a good enough preamp, you don't really need a Cloudlifter, and this really is a misconception. So, like, if you've worked with preamps, everyone knows, or you kind of realize that the preamp doesn't sound the same when you're cranking the gain. Okay, at a higher gain, the preamp doesn't work the way it's intended to. I personally like it at a lower gain, and then I turn the output up at a later stage when I'm usually working. What the Cloudlifter does is it takes away all of that. It takes away the need to run a preamp at a high gain, and it just takes away all these inconsistencies. It gives the mic its most authentic sound, its most authentic version of itself. I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's just more of what the mic is meant to sound like. You might want that extra distortion or harsh harmonics or whatever, but it's always better to get the cleanest possible sound and add that later on. That's at least how I like to work. A lot of studios have 1073, so I've kind of just come up using the 1073. Now that I have a little more choice and a bit more of a budget per se, I've been using tube preamps. My favorite preamp is the Hazelrig Industries VLC, which I have behind me. It's got great musical sounding EQ, and it's just a great all-round preamp and channel strip. So now, even with a high-end preamp like that, I still end up using the Cloudlifter whenever I'm using a ribbon or dynamic microphone, just so that the pre doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting on its own. With doing this, I get all the detail that I need to from the microphones without sacrificing quality. In working with Young Thug, there's a lot of times when we've recorded in the control room with speakers on and stuff, and you just can't use C800s and other tube and condenser mics and that, so I tend to use a dynamic microphone, usually SM7B or something similar, and in these situations the Cloudlifter has really helped because I still get the detail I need from his vocals without sacrificing or without picking up extra noise in the room that a condenser would or a high-end tube mic would. The Cloudlifter Zi, it has this variable impedance, and you can really play around and dial in the sound and really shape the tone of the sound to whatever you like. There is an argument that you could do that with an EQ. The thing is, when you do stuff like that with EQs, you add phase problems and stuff. This doesn't have any of that, so you can change the tone without getting any of those phase inconsistencies or phase issues. You can also run tube microphones through that and almost use the impedance knob as a de-esser, and it's pretty interesting. It's something that you really have to listen to and dial in the right impedance that works for your microphone and for your voice, but it's another cool little trick over there. I also really like using the 44A microphone. It has a Cloudlifter built in, and it's something that a lot of audiophiles and audio purists will tell you. There's just some magic in a ribbon mic that's hard to describe, but they just sound warm and nice, and it's why some of the recordings of some of the records that we've all grown up listening to are mostly all done with ribbon microphones. The one drawback that a lot of the older ribbon mics will have is it would be a pain to get them the right amount of gain to get them up without introducing noise, and the Cloud has solved all of those problems. This has a Cloudlifter built in, so you get a full sound, but it still has all the characteristics that we love out of a ribbon microphone. The good thing about the Cloud microphones, they aren't like dark like ribbon mics are traditionally meant to be. They're a lot fuller. They open out at the top, so it works really well on vocals or musical instruments or really just about any source you put it into. It was this one time I had to record background vocals, and it was two singers, and I was like, you know what, the Cloud microphone would be great because it's ribbon. Sounds good, still have the top end focus, but also the way I set it up was I set up the microphone in the middle, and it's a figure-of-8 microphone. I had each vocalist on either side of the mic, and they both sang in at the same time, so it just had this really full sound. And we did a couple of stacks of those and spread them out, and it just, you know, had this really unique sound where it got both of them and it caught the intricacies of both of their voices, but on one track, so it was pretty cool. I grew up in India, I moved around a bit, and then I went to boarding school. Right after boarding school, I moved to Australia. I was in Australia for a few years in Melbourne, after which I decided to take this audio thing seriously. I moved to Florida, went to Full Sail, which is a pretty good audio school out there, and after finishing the program, I moved to New York City. Spent about 8 years in New York City where we set up these studios, and finally one day I was like, you know, let's pack up New York City. I'm done with the cold, I'm done with this weather. Let's go to brighter, sunnier LA. And I think about 2 years into being in LA, I started working with Young Thug, and that's when everything really changed and it just skyrocketed. And working with him, I pretty much ended up working with everyone in the industry, and it's just been you know, just a big snowball effect ever since then. I'm really blessed to be here, and shout out to Thug for everything he's done for me and for all of us.